So service learning was founded here in 2003 by an AmeriCorps project. About 15 years, about 2003, about 20 years ago. And that's how service learning came to be. I'm actually going to talk about, if you're familiar with Dr. Bob McDonald, he was one of the founding professors that helped service learning grow so much here at Tech. So I'll talk a little bit about him as well. And then, so we were between that time and where we are now, in 2006, we were one of the first institutions to be recognized with the Carnegie classification. And then in 2015, we were reclassified. And then that brings us to being a tier 1 institution. So that's how we were reclassified back in 2015. And then in 2018, engagement was added to our strategic plan. So we do have, I'm not sure if Sam is in this call, but he is from the Office of Outreach and Engagement. And him and I work very closely together, finding community partners for our faculty that are wanting to branch out into the community. So he's a great resource if he's in here, but I'll
Britton, he is here. He is here. I'm not sure if he's able to unmute and say hi, but yes,
okay,
he is
awesome.
on the call.
Great. So that's when, our culture kind of shifted back in 2018 and became more of a well-rounded and inclusive approach to teaching. So adding that outreach and engagement specific to academics back in 2018. So that's our strategic plan specifically states in terms of outreach and engagement and scholarship is we will partner with our local, regional, national, and global communities to stimulate creativity, innovation, social and economic development, working together to solve the complex problems facing people and communities. So I'm so glad that we did add engagement to our strategic plan because that has really helped elevate Engaged Scholarship, the True Office, and then my position as well. So it's been really great. And then where we are now, why is this not working? Where we are now, so as of spring 2021, we do have around 40,000 undergraduate and graduate students here at Texas Tech, and around 1,200 of those students are in service learning courses as of this semester. And then we have 52 of those. Out of those 52 designated courses, we have added, since I've been in this position, 19 new service learning classes. So we have grown exponentially. Even the past 2 years, even with the pandemic, we this past semester added 8 new courses. So people are still wanting to get into the community, get to know what things are out there in Lubbock. So that's been really exciting this past semester as we've added. I think that is the most that in this position that I've been in, this is the most designated courses that we've added in a semester would be 8. So that was very exciting. So I'm happy to see even with the pandemic, people are still wanting to get out into the community. So I'm going to start, hopefully you guys can see this, but I'm going to start off with a video from some of our most experienced service learning faculty, basically talking about what their definition of service learning is and why they use it as a pedagogy. So if you guys can see that, okay.
For me, service learning it's a pedagogy. It's a tool for learning where students learn the discipline by applying it in service to the community.
Students in the community and having them learn concepts that I'm teaching in the class in the actual world. Experiential approach, where you tie the learning objectives of the course to service in the community.
Service learning is an opportunity. It's a possibility for my students to have a singular transformative experience.
There's no better way to understand the concepts and how the concepts play out in the lived experience.
Because I think students spend too much time in the classroom. I think students learn better when they get to apply what they're learning. I think if you look at Kolb's cycle of learning and stuff like that, we're trying to get them through all of those different quadrants of the learning cycle, touch on all four of those. So getting students out, getting them active, having them not have to sit and listen to a canned lecture every single class period.
Well, it's one of the most powerful tools I've ever come across. And again, because I'm more interested in how students learn and how well they learn, I look for tools that work. And that is probably the most powerful learning tool I've ever encountered.
There's research that shows that service learning helps retention, that it tends to lead to more engagement in their later years of their life. And I think that's really important. And I think that's something that appeals to a large number.
Okay. So we got to hear from some of our experienced service learning colleagues. I think across the board, they all would recommend service learning as a pedagogy for faculty to use. So this brings me to my next slide, which is our official definition. Our official definition that was brought about in 2003 by our Service Learning Advisory Council. So service learning is a pedagogy that links academic study and civic engagement through thoughtfully organized service that meets the needs of the community. The service is structured by and integrated into the academic curriculum, which provides opportunities for students to learn and develop through critical reflection. So you're going to hear that word reflection a lot throughout this informational session. That is critical when, again, critical reflection. It's definitely critical when it comes to this pedagogy. So now we're going to talk about the definitions, the different types of service learning. So we're going to talk about two of our most common types of service learning, which is going to be, one will be direct service learning, and then I'll talk about indirect service learning. So direct service learning is going to be person-to-person, face-to-face projects that directly impacts individual or group who serves, who receive service directly from the students. And this picture is going to be from Personal Financial Planning 4377 from Jennifer Wilson's class. So what they do, they go to the Dream Center every semester. The students will start out going to the Dream Center, just volunteering, getting to know the people that go there, kind of helping out with different aspects of their outreach team there at the Dream Center. They usually focus on low socioeconomic neighborhoods. That's what the Dream Center focuses on. So towards the end of the semester, they actually have booths set up where it's kind of a like a financial planning like games. So for those people to learn like how to do a budget and how to plan for the future. So they design games for those people to come and kind of have a day where they just learn all about personal financial planning. So I always think that it's always a great turnout, as you can see. Yeah, so the next one we're going to talk about is going to be team leadership in agriculture, which is Amy Boren's class that she works with at the Grove Farm. And we actually have a video from her. So I'm gonna go ahead and show that.
Perfect.
My discipline is agriculture, and my specific focus within the department is on food security. For this project, I wanted it to be something that merged agriculture and food security together. And so we chose the food bank. They have a small farm. And so and there's always lots of work. I have a lot of students who have different, they have background in different agricultural commodities and activities. And so it seemed like a really good way to be able to get them, my agriculture students who love and are passionate about agriculture, onto a farm that they understand and can really make some contributions with, but at the same time use the food bank as a way to talk about food security in our community. So what we do is I tell them at the beginning of the course, you know, you're going to have this project. It's the whole semester. It's your learning lab for the team skills that you're developing during this course. We go out to the farm, we visit, we speak with the farm manager and the program director, and we walk around and look at all of the different aspects of the property. And then the students come up with an idea. Oh, well, I saw that they could use a certain type of drip irrigation for this area. So we'd like to build that kind of an irrigation system for them. They come up then with a proposal that they want, you know, the thing that they want to address at the food bank farm, what their project is going to look like. The proposal has to be approved. They present it to me, and we go through. And they have to outline exactly a timetable, the different roles each member plays on that team, and how they're going to implement this service project. And then throughout the course of the semester, they need to give me 2 progress reports, and they're due at specific times. I think for my students in this particular class, it's really helpful if they have some guided reflection. So I ask particular questions, and I have them reflect on the applications. I have not yet had a student who said, we shouldn't have done that. This semester I had so many students say to me, don't ever change this course. This is a great course. And so I think for some students it seems maybe scary. Maybe they haven't got that kind of confidence developed that they can manage all of these different things that they have going. And I understand that students are busy. I mean, I understand that. But I think that this is such a critical piece of the learning. I wouldn't change it. I have team members that have developed lifelong friendships because they have worked together on this project. So getting students out, getting them active, having them not have to sit and listen to a canned lecture every single class period. I think that that's good for their learning, and it helps them become more aware of what's happening in the community.
So that was a little bit about Amy Bourne's class. So next I'm going to share my screen again, but we're going to talk about indirect service learning. And I'm going to go to that. So for indirect service learning, students do participate in activities that will help people, but they don't work directly with the people. So before, with direct service learning, the students are going to the site, working with those community members, working with the volunteers and working with the people that work there at the site. With indirect service learning, I actually I took 2 service learning courses while I was an undergrad and a graduate student at Tech. So this flyer is from a flyer that I actually designed for my service learning class for a 5K, a 10K and a mile walk that we did back in 2018. So this event, we were having to basically work as teams. One half of the class did a golf tournament and the other half did a run walk, the kind of 5K, 10K mile walk. And we had to be put into teams. We had a team leader. We had somebody doing merchandise, someone doing marketing, basically everything that you need for the components of putting together. You would think that, okay, people are just going to go on the street and run, but there's so much more to that. What we did with this class is that we, again, basically made sure we had everything ready for a 5K, 10K, and mile walk. You would think that would be, again, self-explanatory, but we had to set up markers, make sure there was water stations, get all the vending, had to have sponsorships. So basically everything that we needed. We worked so hard on this, and I still have pictures. I still remember everything that we had to do. Basically had the whole semester until April 7th to come up with a plan and be able to execute it. And also it was April 7th. And I don't know if anyone was here. It was a while back ago, but if you were here that weekend, that was when it went into like the 20s, and we had our 5K and 10K walk, and we had to get everything ready at 5 in the morning. And it was so cold, but people still came, and it was a really great turnout. It was honestly something I still remember to this day. And then you heard Bob McDonald kind of talk about why he thinks service learning is such an important pedagogy. He teaches a marketing class, which is personal selling. So each semester, he has a class that works with, if you're familiar with Sandra's Song, they're a nonprofit that helps kids that age out of foster care. She helps them find like work clothes, even for food, work clothes, even housing. So they have to implement everything that they've learned from middle of the semester and implement that into selling them and basically fundraising for Sandra's Song. So I believe they are able to raise, he has 2 classes that do this, and he's able to raise $16,000 to $18,000 a semester for Sandra's Song, which helps fund the cost of their 2 homes that they have here in Lubbock. So I believe Sandra actually came and spoke at our Faculty Fellows workshop, Service Learning Faculty Fellows workshop last year, and she said that if it wasn't for Dr. McDonald's class, that she would have folded and without their financial assistance. So these service learning classes can have a huge impact on who they're helping and who they're servicing. So it's very important. They usually are, Bob said that their minimum to solicit is $300 a semester. And sometimes they even go above and beyond that. There are stipulations. You can't do a fundraising campaign or like a GoFundMe, things like that. So there are stipulations to what you can't do. But he said that it's successful every semester. So he really believes in this. And there are also 2 other types of service learning approaches that are still used, but not as widely used. But one of them is advocacy. So it's like planning and creating awareness initiatives and an event to address a community issue or a need. So you could bring in a guest speaker to talk about a specific topic in the community. Like you could sponsor that event. And then just educate or promote certain aspects of like lawn care to elementary schools, and if it's safe to use like at that certain elementary school. So you could use, you could also do, that's a type of service learning. We also have research-based service learning, which is collecting and analyzing and implementing data, and then that addresses a issue or community need. So that actually was widely used whenever it was the COVID-19 pandemic, because obviously some classes weren't able to go in and actually work directly with that community member or nonprofit. So a lot of them just gathered data for that community and kind of looked at the impact that COVID-19 had on their nonprofit. So that we had a few classes that did that this past semester. And then next, we're just going to talk about the benefits of service learning from a student's perspective. That's what we're going to start off with first. So as you probably heard Amy Bourne talk about understanding and handling like the complexity of a real world problems and situations. Again, I took 2 service learning courses, and for my undergrad, it was actually a tandem with the graduate class I ended up taking when I was in graduate school. So the first one was we actually helped the graduate students. We basically came up with the ideas and they had to implement everything, and then we helped them the day of actually getting that ready. So I felt that was definitely understanding and handling problem situations that came up, and develop a habit of critical reflection. So we're going to talk more about that if you do end up wanting to pursue pedagogy of service learning. We're going to talk more in depth about these things. If you are wanting to be in the service learning faculty fellows, we do have a workshop that I'll talk about later, but we talk more in depth about these topics. So enhance their understanding of social issues, develop reflective and critical thinking skills, social and civic responsibility, and ethical reasoning.
From that slide, Britton, it's easy to see why this is considered a high impact educational practice when you look at all the student benefits. And I appreciate too your perspective of a former service learning student at the undergrad and graduate level. I think that makes your role as the coordinator really, really rich. So thanks for sharing that.
Yes, thank you, Mitzi. I think that was Mitzi. I can't see.
It was, you're right.
Yeah, so again, I still remember, like, I think my service learning courses are the most memorable classes that I've taken. Yeah, I still have videos, I still have pictures, I still have a lot of things from my service learning course. I'm still friends with, I think, all of the people that I worked with in my service learning courses, because we had to be with each other and work with each other all the time. And we're still friends to this day. So yeah, that's helpful for me. So these are some of the quotes that we've gotten from students that have taken service learning courses. So these are, I'll just kind of summarize the big picture part, but it helps me to be more engaged in the classroom. So I feel like this pedagogy definitely helps students get more hands-on learning experience. It makes you become more engaged as a student, not always like taking notes on your computer or writing notes down. It definitely helps you apply the things that you've learned in class into a real world situation. And then I'm gaining knowledge about nonprofits that I didn't have before. So a lot of students that want to start working in nonprofits especially like after they graduate, a lot of people actually go on to work with some of the classmates that I actually worked with on my service learning classes. Gain knowledge about, there's an Ashley Stevenson Memorial Scholarship is who we raised the funds for, and some of them actually coordinated their social media afterwards, after they had taken the class. So I believe that gaining knowledge about nonprofits and working out in the community can definitely create partnerships that you didn't know were out in Lubbock, or even this could be career opportunities and networking. So that's very important. And then lastly, I think overall service learning is a great concept, which is great to me. So I think if students are saying this, especially me I honestly think even if I wasn't in this position, I would still have the same opinion about service learning. And then so benefits of service learning from an educator's perspective that we've come across. It's a proven pedagogical technique. It's cognitive, you learn more and remember longer. Again, I took those classes back in like 2015, 2018, and I still remember a lot of those concepts that I learned because I actually had to put them into action. And then effective personal and professional growth, research opportunities, scholarship of teaching and learning, and then broaden the role and nature of education. I'm actually Facebook friends and still talk to my professors that I even took the service learning courses with. So I feel like there's also a connection with the professor or the instructor that's teaching that class and the student, because you guys have to, you have to really communicate, and your expectations as an instructor have to be spot on with your students. So I feel like that communication is definitely extremely helpful when it comes to implementing something that is going to actually come into play and be and affect more than just your grade. It's going to affect a community member and a nonprofit. And then this is just what some of our faculty members have to say. So Dr. Nathan Gill is one of our newer service learning faculty fellows. He was in our program last year. And he does prescribed burning. So he works with community members and farmers across West Texas. So that's what him and his class do. And then again, Dr. Bob McDonald, he's a big advocate for service learning. So if you guys want to take a minute, kind of skim through those. And then Dr. Bob McDonald, Dr. Nathan Gill, definitely big advocates for service learning, and I'm very excited to see more of Dr. Gill's class as it kind of evolves and keeps going through service learning. So it's exciting that we have new faculty that are so willing to jump into service learning and kind of help out wherever is needed. I'm gonna go ahead and keep it going. And then benefits of service learning from a community perspective would be that reciprocity. So the students are able to learn and have hands-on, are able to learn in a real world environment. And then, yeah, they have usually shared values of what is expected of them and what's expected of the community partner and what's expected of the student while they're there working. So it helps to fulfill genuine need, find solutions, and address problems. And then collaboration, articulate clear service learning goals for everyone involved. And then sustainability. So Dr. Bob McDonald has been working with Sandra Song for, I believe, the past 6 years. So when you do establish that community partnership, hopefully you're able to sustain that partnership. Sadly, Dr. McDonald is retiring. So you're able to maintain that relationship, or some professors, if they do end up retiring or going to a different university, sometimes they transfer it over to somebody that they know will keep that relationship going. So that's always a goal, to just have that sustained relationship. And then the benefits of service learning to higher education institutions. So benefits to Texas Tech, it enhances opportunities to recruit and retain a more diverse student population, strengthens community connections and ties, and then recognition on local and national levels. So we do, Sam, Levi, JC know that we go to conferences where your service learning project or class, you can present that and it can be recognized, and you can present research on it. So we do have, our university has been recognized on a national level for our engaged scholarship in service learning. So that's very exciting. And so now I'm going to talk about how you can get involved here at Texas Tech in service learning. So we do have our Service Learning Faculty Fellows Program, which is a fellowship that meets twice. Well, actually, we meet once a semester with a 2-day workshop. So eligibility right now, we actually have opened it up to any faculty member or graduate or PhD student who's wanting guidance in teaching with service learning. So that's actually new. We hadn't opened it to any faculty member or graduate PhD student. The only thing with the graduate and PhD students is that we're not able to give them the funding or the stipend, but they can still come to the workshop and gain guidance if they're wanting to further even learn more about service learning, or if they're thinking about being an instructor, professor. Yeah, they can learn more that way. We had our first PhD student this past semester. So she's great. So just the requirements: submission of an application for a service learning course, and then you do have to have an instructional diagnosis midway through the semester, so that we just know how your service learning class is going, how the students are perceiving it, just a checkup. And then we have a 2-day workshop. So this year it's going to be August 11th and 12th. So whenever you do apply to be a faculty fellow, you can choose one of the workshops. So either in August or in December. You don't have to go to both. So we have, one on August 11th and 12th, and then December 8th and 9th. And this workshop is going to be getting your S designation application ready. We do have community and service learning faculty panels. So we'll have one panel where it'll be our newer service learning faculty that are just maybe a year or two into implementing their service learning projects, and they'll kind of give you tips and tricks on what is going to be the most important thing for you to do when designing your service learning course. And then the next time we'll have more of like a roundtable open discussion with our more experienced service learning faculty members. And we'll also have a community panel that will talk about just what they've learned, what they expect from the students, what they expect from you, the type of communication, what's going to be most important to them, and basically just how to communicate with your community partner, because communication with service learning and your community partner is so important. And then, so that will be in the fall semester is our workshop. And then the spring semester, with COVID and everything going on, we haven't been able to do most of our networking and service events, but usually towards the end or the beginning of the spring semester, we actually volunteer somewhere as a group. We have lunch, then we go and volunteer. Last time we volunteered at the South Plains Food Bank, so that was actually a lot of fun volunteering there. They give you a tour, and then also if you're wanting to work with them too, or thinking about working with them in your class, is a great way to kind of get to know what their needs are and what just what to expect when your students potentially start going there. And then so our support, if you do choose to go through with our fellowship, is going to be a $500 stipend. So you get that right after you finish the workshop. And then we also have several funding applications that we do have. So if you're wanting to attend, or if you're wanting to present your research at a conference, we are able to help with funding for that. Or if you're wanting to use some of the funds towards the project that you're working for in a class. I just had one professor that bought books for her class because our students work in elementary school. So she bought a bunch of books for them to read together. So you could use that. Or I believe Amy Bourne also got funding for them to build like a gardening bed for the Grub Farm. So that's, so if your students do need funds for building a project, then just let me know. So this is going to be, as I've probably talked about a lot, is our essay designation application. So our application will consist of a course narrative, so basically a summary of what your course and your service learning project will entail, how you intend to do critical reflection and ask your students. It could be it could be a journal, it could be a video. We've had professors that for their critical reflection, they'll have them answer a few questions and they'll do it in video form. So it's kind of like a video diary, which has been, students get very honest on camera. So it's a great way to see how students are really feeling about their project and kind of working in a group. And then meaningful service, why do you think working with this community partner, how do you think that that relationship, how meaningful do you think this relationship will be? And then last is civic awareness. How are you going to get that across to your students that civic awareness is an important aspect of service learning? And then again, your course syllabus will be in there as well. And so these are usually due the first Thursday of October, which is going to be for the next spring and summer. So if you're wanting to teach a class in the spring or summer, it'll be due the fall before, if that makes sense. And then if you're wanting to teach a class for the fall, then it would be the first Thursday of March. So that just passed. So if that makes sense. Yeah, the registrar's dates always confuse me. Yeah, so again, why should I get involved in service learning? Service learning is definitely a pedagogy that needs so much attention, and we do recommend it for tenured faculty. We think that it takes a lot of time, a lot of patience, a lot of communication between your students, the community partner. Again, that faculty and student dynamic. I'm Facebook friends and still friends with my professor that I had my service learning course with. Students are connecting with the community, and it's just a great hands-on learning experience and opportunity for all involved. I know I have said this, I don't know how many times, but I do think it's such a great opportunity, especially for deep thinking, critical thinking. I had to think outside the box. I don't know how much. And you would think something as simple as a run and walk. But yeah, it was we had to come up with all kinds of solutions for problems we didn't even know were going to happen. So just coming from me as a student from service learning, I think that is definitely an important pedagogy. But I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen so I can see everyone. So is there any questions? That kind of ends the presentation part, but is there any questions or things that I should clarify sorry about, again, I apologize about the technical issues. But yeah,
I have a question.
yes.
Is the registration for August already up and available? And if so, where can we register?
Yes, so let me go ahead and put that, oh, hello. Let me go ahead and put that in the chat. So this is our service learning, our Texas Tech Service Learning website. And this is where you will find the application for service learning, faculty fellows, and then where you'll also find our S designation application. And then you'll also see what classes are currently designated. So I went ahead and put that in the chat. And then our application should be up and running on there right now. Is there any other questions? Anyone, Mitzi, Erica, would you guys like to add anything?
I would just say, Britton, maybe you could address this. I think there might be a misconception sometimes with service learning that, oh, I have this class that I teach, and maybe I could have my students go out and do a little volunteer work, put that into the semester, and then that could be service learning. So would you kind of talk about, I think you already have addressed it in a lot of ways, but maybe just that and maybe other common misconceptions about service learning?
Yes. So with the difference between like volunteerism and service learning, I would say is going to be that critical reflection part. That is, especially whenever you are working out in the community, if you're just volunteering and just kind of going through the motions, you're not really having that, again, critical reflection of thinking like, why did I do this? How is this helping? What did I learn? Like, how do I feel about this? Even simple questions lead to more critical thinking and deeper thinking than just going through the motions of volunteering. So I believe the common misconceptions also is kind of not being able to work with your community partner on the levels that you thought, which is also what we do talk about in our faculty fellows, is having that like memorandum of understanding where you write out, this is exactly what I expect out of a community partner, and then the community partner will say, well, this is exactly what I expect out of your class. So that's also helpful, especially whenever you don't know if anything will work out with them, but that is helpful, having that understanding that there's going to be, again, that reciprocal relationship between the two of you.
And in the chat, Britton and Cameron Brown would like to know the benefits of the S designation, and do you feel that having that is a greater appeal to students who might enroll in the course?
Yes, so we have a relationship with the registrar that does have kind of more of a benefit, because they can are able to put that on their resumes and say like, oh, I was in a service learning course. Before the pandemic, we were working on when those classes do get designated, once you finish that course, you are given like a service learning certificate. And if you complete at least, I believe it was 9 hours of service learning courses. So we are still kind of working on that, so that students do have like a service learning certificate saying that they went through that. So it kind of shows employers like, I've worked out in the field already, I have field experience, I know like what to expect when it comes to actually working in the real world. So I believe, so hopefully we can get that up and running, I'm hoping. But that's kind of the more appeal to it, I would say, is that they're able to put it on their resume. I have, so I know I have. Oh no, Erica left. Thanks, Erica. So are there any other questions I can answer? And then I'm going to go ahead and put my email in the chat as well. If you do have any questions or want to brainstorm even an idea that you're having, and then we could further brainstorm to see if that like who potential partners could be, or what aspects of that class that can be a service learning component. What was your question, Levi?
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I know I should know this, but I was just thinking about it. when a course gets designated as an S, with that S designation,
Yeah.
does it go on the course level or on the section level?
The section. So it'll
Okay.
be like the section number will be 001. It's going to be S01.
Okay, and so then each year, do I have to resubmit for that designation to be recurring, or do I just let someone know when they're setting it up once it's approved that I'm doing it again?
Yes, so that once a course is approved, so we have a committee that that reviews all of our S designation applications, and they once they have approved it, and I've sent you all the not really paperwork, but once I've sent you the approve that it's been approved, I then go to the registrar and say these are the new service learning classes for the semester. That gets so the service learning course is designated by your name, so not technically with the course. So as long as you're teaching that course every semester, then the S designation will still be on it, unless you tell me otherwise, like this past semester with COVID. If you tell me otherwise, then I'll tell the registrar, can we take this off for the semester, but then put it back on for the fall? So you don't have to resubmit every year or every semester unless it's for a totally different class. That's the only time.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? And again, that the application for service learning faculty fellows is open. It's going to be August 11th and 12th, and then December 8th and 9th. So we usually do it a week, the weekend, the first week before classes start in August, and then the last week, like when graduation is usually towards December. So that's when so we know people are still here. We know you're here. Yeah. All righty.
Well, I'll add this as Britton's colleague who gets to work closely with her on service learning. I will say she is incredibly professional, very responsive, and so such a great resource to service learning faculty fellows. So if you're a person who's thinking that you might want to dip your toe into this and think about a project, please reach out to her. It's not unusual for Britton and I, or Britton alone, to kind of Zoom with someone prior to the application process, just to hear and brainstorm and maybe to give some feedback. So even if you're just thinking about it, I'd encourage you to reach out if you have specific questions. I know she's so capable and so ready to answer those.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mitzi. Appreciate it. Awesome. Okay. Well, if again, my email is in the chat. So if you guys do have any questions, just feel free to shoot me an email. We can, again, like Mitzi said, talk it over Zoom. Yeah, so I am here.
Mm-hmm. Thank you all for being here today. We always say at the TLPDC that service learning is not necessarily for every single faculty member, but if it is for you and you end up going through the process, as Britton said, it will be a win for you, a win for your students, and certainly a win for the community. And we're really lucky here at Texas Tech to have such wonderful collaborative partners in TRU, in Office of Outreach and Engagement. So a shout out to all of those in attendance today as well. If you have further questions, please reach out to us.